Okay, so just repeat, welcome everyone to the last day of the meeting, and we will start discussing the e-letter, and
so overall, remember today's our administrative session. One can call it either the most important or the most boring, depending on your angle. So it may not have as much technical discussion, but I think it's critical for the future of this group. So let's start with, as Sal said,
So I will paste a link to a Google Doc. It's basically blank, but maybe we will make some decision, and we could then note them down in this document, and I mean we can jointly see that it will be correct. We have been since some time being not taking strictly minutes, but the most important thing is to note down decisions, and the rest, at least for this meeting, has been recorded. So if anyone wants to backtrack what was actually said, you can always go through the video. So, but we haven't made any decision so far in the meeting, but actually, we might do today. So
we have only one decision, right? The change
we
of
have
the IMG.
The IMG, and I also started in the document with Thursday. So there will be one bullet point on Thursday, which is not fully written yet, and then for Friday.
Just to be clear, you're taking notes or someone else taking notes?
I'm just open up for everyone to jointly.
Who can be our designated? Again, it should be like 3 or 4 bullets on the decisions, right? Like yesterday, we decided the change of chairship on leadership on IMG. If we take any decision about where we host, these are the only things that need to be captured. Can we have somebody who at least does that? Or
yeah, that will be awesome. Do you see the link to the document? I just posted it in the chat, Zoom chat, and just test if you can access it.
We don't have access to the Zoom chat, unfortunately. The company policy.
Wasn't okay? Let me see.
Anyways, while we figure out, let's give the floor to Naim to talk to us about the e-letter.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we can start with a little bit of history of this VQEG letter, right? We started this one around 2017 and 18, and the drive behind the VQEG letter is that one. Okay, we have a very good activities that we are performing in VQEG, so how we can disseminate these activities as well with our own forum, right? So that's we started, me and Shell started proposed this one, and then we started this one. We have a couple of issues. That was a really good success of this one. In 2018 and 19, we have 2 issues, and almost in each issue, we have around about 6 to 8 articles are there, and they are quite good quality as well. But then there is a surge came that one, okay, because this is not we don't have a DOI number, right? So then how this work will be recognized by the community. So that was a point that people start not actively participating in this VQEG e-letter. And at that time, we proposed that one, how we can actually materialize this one. But at that time, there was some, actually, we don't want to be that very formalized, that one. So this is a little bit of history of this one. But the good thing is that one, we have already 2 issues, right? And the third one is a half one as well. So there's 2.5 issues are there. And now we would like to be maybe try to do this one. What is a good way to be move forward? Just to be a little bit, give a history of this one. This is the overall objective of VQEG e-letter that we propose at the beginning as well. The main idea is that one, we should have our technical papers, right? Either a summary of a review of our own articles that is published somewhere else, but providing a summary in this VQEG e-letter as well. And then also providing some best practices as well, like we have a very good test plan that we design in different groups. Why not to be published in this forum? And also at that time, we discussed that one, that we can think about to be reprint of some of the other article as well. Then, and also there was another important point as well, that response articles, for example, if there is any publication, so how we can actually react, or then say that one, what are the best things we can do over there. So these are the overall aim at that time we proposed that one, right? If you see the editorial team at that time, it's a Shell and myself, and then we have a good team of associate editor as well, that from Margaret is still in the meeting, right? Lucian, then Marcus, yeah, and Patrick, Glenn and Vittorio at that time, they showed the interest in this one at the beginning. But definitely now we have to change that one and see that especially, first of all, we would like to see the interest from this group, that how we would like to be move forward. And then on the basis of this one, we'll see that one, what are the other parameters that we have to think about this one. And normally, how we ran this e-letter, actually, it is based on these guest editors, right? They all are the special issues, right? Each time we have a special issue, then we ask requests from any of the group to become a guest editor, and then they can get all the papers and then propose a call of papers for the VQEG members or outside as well. We are not restricted with only the VQEG. We ask the paper from outside as well. That's what we at that time proposed. But actually, the paper that we receive mostly from the VQEG group at the 2 issues that we have, right? So now we would like to be, so this is just the history of this one, that, okay, what is VQEG e-letter is. But now the question is that one, how we have to be moved forward, right? Because it's, let's suppose I can say that we have a new co-chair here, right? So, and he has both actually very good, he has academic world experience as well as the industrial experience. So we will see that one, how we will move forward for this one. So what we are proposing here, couple of things from the beginning, right? So that is the demand at that time as well, that if we have to make it alive, then we should have a ISSN number and the DOI for each of the publication that will be published here, right? So that we have to work on it. We will discuss that one, how it can be materialized. We can start at the beginning, and then we will see that how it will work. So this is the first step we have to do, because if we want to make it alive, then we will go ahead with this ISS number and the DOI. That's the first and foremost important thing to be start or revive. We don't think about maybe VQEG e-letter. Maybe it will not be VQEG e-letter. Name it can be changed as well, because rather than to be going for an e-letter, why not we can go for a little bit more open of this one, right? Then the other option as well that we are thinking about that one, rather than to be going an e-letter, we can go for a journal as well. Open access journal, right? If you see that one, ITU have the journals, AMPEG has the journal, right? So why not VQEG has the journal as well, right? Maybe initially we can start with a little bit, then we can maybe flourish with the open, with the passage of time. And we can go for open access, and we can go for a hybrid as well. For example, we can go ahead that one, okay, if there is only academic partner and the VQEG part of it, then it is a free of cost. And if the industrial partner is, then they're voluntary, if they can contribute something to maintain it, because we have to, because when you are asking for a DOI and ISSN, then there is a cost, some cost is associated with it. So how we have to be self-sustained model of it, that is, we have to think about this one. Another way is that one, we can go for a book series, but there is a pros and cons for the book series as well, that first of all, you need all articles, then you have to go, and it takes normally, my experience is that one, I have 6-7 books, but it takes normally 6 months to 1 year to be completed. So I don't think so it is a valid, maybe one-off we can go with this one, but not on a regular basis. So that is, so the option is that one, either we can go for revive this e-letter again but with ISSN number and DOI, and or go for our open access journal as well. So these are the points. Right now we are putting on a floor, and we are looking forward for your input on this one, and floor open to all of you. So Shal, would you like to add something?
Oh, yeah. I think you covered it very nicely.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments?
Questions or comments from anyone? I have, why don't you start, Cosmo?
I gotta say, I love the idea, but I just have a question. You mentioned there's some costs associated, like that would be for each publication, to have the DOI. I'm just curious, ballpark, like how big are these costs? What are we talking about? Like,
No, for DOI, there is no cost, right? We have to be, but we need to be host somewhere, right? Platform where we can host the publication, right? This is the one thing. Then the cost is associated with ISSN number as well. But I know that when there is some way we can go, if we go from some national channel, because I know that one national channel of British Library, if we go through this route, maybe we can get free of cost as well. So that's one, but to hosting it somewhere, that's maybe the cost associated.
And let's table that. That's an excellent discussion for our future, where probably let's say the evolution of the current website could definitely be the host for e-letter as well. Is the obvious to me on that question, but let's not jump to that discussion before we settle this one. I saw Patrick.
First of all, thank you for digging up this initiative. Maybe several suggestion, comment, question also that I have. The first one, at the time we put that in place, e-letter was kind of a new format. I'm not sure that it makes sense to call it e anymore, because most of the from that time, most of the publication, journal, and everything does not publish anymore. They do a little bit of print, but most of the things are all e. So maybe we should remove this and just go. We don't need to put that in the name. I think it's from the edge. That drives me maybe to the question: should we call it VQEG letter, VQEG magazine, VQEG, similar to a single processing magazine or communication magazine? And so I'm not sure if we should call it letter. Coming back to the idea, the magazine. If you look at, for instance, single processing magazine, it's you have different format also. So it can be technical paper, can be position paper, can be forum, also like a panel in the form of something written. So you have questions and set of experts who reply to this question, reply to each other. We can also imagine this to set this format, which reflects sometimes the debates that we have inside VQEG, but this could be put in the form of a paper. So I would suggest also to investigate that. Tech blog is maybe the stuff now. Instead of e-letter, maybe is it a tech blog that we want to put in place? What else? Yeah, DOI, maybe another possibility to host the stuff. It's archive, which is which provides also a number and very well, let's say, admitted in the community. The only thing is that when you go for archive, it's you somehow hide the fact that there is a kind of a editorial board. Okay, but we can find a way maybe. The good thing with archive also is that some of the things that we could put here can go still in some journal or other publication if they are interested. So does not prevent us to have some kind of a other tribune and reuse the content that we have here. Voila, that's my 2 cents so far.
No, Oh,
Yeah,
no, that's very good suggestions, right? Oh, sorry, please. That's very good suggestion that when we consider that one, when we will see the other comments, and then I think so. This is the magazine one is a good one, right? Because when we are talking about this DOI, there is a 2-3 platform as well. One, the archive, you mentioned that one. Then there is another open access one, the Zindu, that is a outcome of a one EU project. And it's open source, right? So everyone can upload there, and then they get a proper DOI number as well from the beginning, right? So we can explore that one. Or that maybe I think so. It is good to show you a couple of things here, right? So for this point of view, right? So which one it is? Sorry, it is too many things are there. It's very slow. The response, yeah. So if you can see here, the ITU, right? So they have their own journal right now. So, and then not only one, I just put one example here. Then you can see that one open access AMPAC 4 journal as well, right? They have lots of, if I go further down, then you can see that one on each topic, they put a journal, right? So, and this is just a one platform they are hosting, and then put so because when I'm exploring this one, so these are the just
A USB journal.
Microsoft Windows journal. And
Yeah.
variable bitrate. I love that, but I'm not sure if it's a journal. Very interesting.
but you can see that one form that we have to think about this one. If we are thinking about the future of VQEG, then maybe these are one of the things, direction we have to look at it.
But is the meaning of the name journal in this case the same as we mean when we talk
Like a
about
letter, I think.
peer review journal? I mean, this seems to be more loose.
Anybody else? Before my
Yeah. So thanks for bringing it back. As we also mentioned yesterday in the 5G KPI session, we definitely think a way to publish things from VQEG with a DOI, right? There's been some relevant publications from VQEG in the past, even though they don't have a formal DOI, like the VQEG HDTV. I mean, the VQEG project reports, they have, they're cited there. So it's good that now onwards we have a structure for that. In general, I think that like creating a regular journal in the format that we kind of compete with IEEE journals or whatever doesn't make much sense. Everyone publishes somewhere else. Even trying to do a light-hearted version of that or a short version of that, I think it's going to create a lot of effort. So like what happened with the e-letter, right? So it's a bit, you need to chase people to publish things because, people have their own path of publications. You want to publish things here and there for stuff. So I think that we should focus on publishing for sure the results of the joint work. So things like, white papers, the guidelines, best practices. So all that, everything which is the result of this team as a team working together and reaching some conclusions, I think is very valuable. And I think it's worth being published as VQEG. And journal type, I think that the idea of Patrick of more magazine-like things that are not so easily found in regular magazines, like positioning papers or debates or, things which reflect the kind of live discussion that we have here, that we can have like more insights on that. That could also be an option. I have I'm less excited about publishing my next paper in the VQEG journal instead of in any other journal. I don't think that makes so much sense.
No, I completely agree with you that we are not thinking about that one, a full-fledged journal that will be, but the most important, because the previous VQEG letter or the effort that we put it, the main, you can say the resistance over there as well, because we don't have ISSN number, don't have a DOI. So why I will spend put an effort to put somewhere that will not be recognized later on, right? So right now the discussion is that one, how we can actually materialize this one, that whatever we put our efforts on it, it will be recognized and it will be actually properly refer that one later on in publication. You get citation of all these things. So that is the main objective of right now for this discussion actually. And then there is a different mechanism that how we will use that one. Patrick mentioned magazine. We can go for VQEG letter or VQEG, that a series somehow that we will think about. But that's why we are here to discuss it. Yes, Patrick. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the place for technical papers that you would put in any other journal. But one drawback these days of a journal, regular journal, is timeliness, which is terrible. So the moment you have something interesting, that's important, this is the right time to talk about this problem. Journal are way too long to publish it. So I think this stuff is really good if you want to promote new things and drive the community. Also, another problem that we face with journal is the length of the paper. Here we don't need to do. It can be a short paper. It can be a small position, a small debate, something. But at least that poses a debate that you can use actually for your technical paper, because they say, okay, look, from VQEG, this is the thing, and we discussed already that as expert, and you cite this document in your technical papers that you will push to whatever SEM, blah blah, or IEEE. So the format of the paper should be very different in terms of length, type of things, what we're talking about. Things that I don't see much in I wish some journal embrace that movement is benchmark. Okay, it's very complicated to have that's something you remember at ICASP, Yanis, we notice you go in a poster session on video quality, and from one poster to another, same database, different correlation coefficient, different RMSE, different. So I think also trying to track these things and explain how we do it, and on the fly, oh, there is this new metric, we include it, and we have a kind of a table that that reflect what we test and agree on some established data set. We can also push some data set and say, okay, this is what we find. And having these things alive, it's interesting. So continuous benchmarking of what's going on in literature on the data sets that we have identified. No journal cannot do that.
Yeah. No, actually, this is a very good suggestion. And also we can open a, some. All right, sorry.
Let's open up to Alex, who remotely raised his hand. Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is a great idea, Patrick, what you suggest, if I got it right, is this continue, like something really which keeps track of this kind of continued monitoring of these tools which are out there in a way, right? And agreements or benchmarking, basically what you said, right? I think this is a really good idea, and I strongly support this. Generally, I think a blog would be quite nice, actually, right? Because it's relatively lightweight, and we could be fleshing out new ideas there. So as a replacement, maybe for the letter. I mean, just my opinions, right? I mean, no, I've been not very passionate. It's just, I mean, not very insisting. That's what I mean. And then third point, I really like the reference to this kind of VQEG report. I mean, lately we didn't really have many VQEG reports, right? But I really think these were very strong documents, right? As I said, they were also kind of cited. Maybe that's also something which we could consider as a format, that if we have something, say, stronger, we try to make it a report, but that could then, of course, also somehow even be redeveloped. I mean, for example, this access paper we wrote about P1204, in essence, is some sort of report, if you want, right? Which could also be done. And their access, IEEE access, is an option for a relatively quick publication, but I'm completely aware it is unfortunately quite deprecated also. I think it would be good if that journal was adopting a slightly different turnaround time of the reviews by increasing it a bit, maybe doubling it or maybe times 1.5 and increasing its quality, but that's just a side note. Yeah, but so these 3 points. So first, I really think a kind of a more, you know, kind of regularly updated kind of benchmarking site somewhere, a blog, and some more emphasis again on some quite visible VQEG reports. I think these are 3 things which I would really like.
Thank you, Alex. I see a few hands. I just want to be cognizant how much time we will need. But I think I see, I don't know which order. Let's go with Shell, because
I think the key here to start is to obtain the ISSN and DOI, and we can go from there. Either we can have like an umbrella thing called whatever, letter communication. Everything that we write could be channeled through this, or we have different name for different things: blog, letter, report. But everything should be with the DOI, and if we have that, the visibility. I don't know if it's possible to even give a DOI to the older report. I think that could be a work that would be valuable to do. And anyway, they are found, that they are cited, but maybe the visibility could be even more if you could attach a DOI. So I think for me, in principle, we can move forward if we decide to, and I think there is a consensus for that, to try to implement that we could establish a DOI, maybe a thing for Naeem and I to flesh out a concrete suggestion. We could post that to or have a separate meeting and then make a decision on going for that.
may I? Because I've been holding my thoughts for some time, and maybe give people the opportunity to breathe and reflect. I like to approach this from 2 angles. My number 1 angle is who will be reading what we write. Because from the consumption point of view, we should tailor the content, is my opinion, right? Hold that thought for a moment. I'll come back. I have some ideas, but please keep that in mind. Do not think of who's going to write, but who is, quote unquote, the target audience. Either who we like it to be, or who would be better for the world to be. Number 2, this is a personal experience, and David is here. For those who, I'm sure you don't track my Google Scholar, but 2 of the most cited things I have on my profile are 2 tech blogs. The VMAF tech blog and the Dynamic Optimizer tech blog. There is I can say, happy story and a sad story behind these tech blogs, right? The sad part, which again is a little bit unfortunate, is that one of the 2, the VMAF tech blog, somehow stopped getting tracked by Google Scholar. So about 2,000, no, not 1,000, about 800 citations disappeared from my profile. I know there are 800 citations of the VMAF tech blog, it's just not being tracked. So no matter what we do today, DOI, DOI, DOI. Because then there is a unique identifier, and so people don't just lose the pointer to their work. Now go back to what I believe can be useful. We finish the meeting, all of us walk away with very great knowledge. That's a little bit internal. The number 1, not complain, but really question that I have people, oh, VQEG is a great concept. Where do I get information that I can say, concretize, right? I don't want to go through the series of meetings, click on the meetings, get the meeting summary, and then like 3 directions of pointers to find some information. So I want us to have at least a way of taking not everything that happened this week, call it the highlights, call it the one that we feel comfortable, the ones that are ready, put in one place as a single repository. Could be original ideas, could be a presentation of existing ideas or work in progress. But my at least hope would be that the external world, who is not a part of this community, gets a place, a single place. I have no strong preference through a tech blog, through a, or many options we saw there. That's at least how I view the letter. A place to really very well document, let's call them the proceedings, right? That's how I see it, the proceedings of the group. And the other part, which I think nobody so far I heard disagreeing, truly, I see right now 3 position papers, if you like to call them, in the pipeline. One very mature, I hope, Pablo, the 5G KPI white paper, right? We need to have a good home for it. Starts with the DOI, then maybe part of the letter, whoever we're going to call it, right? So at least people can refer to it. The second one, Enrico, I hope would be IG, the implementer's guide, right? And hopefully later down the road, something about the generative content, right? So that those longer could be 50 pages, right? They need a home. So for me, these are the 3 considerations I have. I have no preference on, but let's decouple the problem of hosting. Hosting, in my opinion, can be solved once we have the proper infrastructure, no problem, right? Repository, from the problem of indexing and presenting to the external world. That's what I want us to focus, right? These are my thoughts, and now back to the regular programming. Who was next?
Yes, actually, this is your first point is what I was when I raised the hand. I had the same idea. So it's important. Who's going to read us? But nowadays we could think a bit differently. Who's going to watch us? We are video quality expert group. We can also put video and DOI to video. So because I'm not sure a lot of people read books anymore, especially so the first entry is often a video. You may be aware, I don't know if it's Springer or Elsevier who set up a new journal, which is video only. So you have one description, abstract of the video, and then the journal, which is totally e-journal, is a video. It's composed. So we should consider also this format, I think, because a lot of people get their information now from a first video that usually they play at 1.5 speed or stuff like that. So yes, and tutorial. So we could consider some kind of tutorial like video, how to use this tool, what to do.
All right, I think so. These are the very good suggestions, right? As Yanis mentioned that one, and then all of you agree that one. Shall also, so we can first work on the ISSN and DOI, right? This is the first step for us.
Make it our
and
decision today, right? The group decides that no matter what, either for the past, please investigate. How can you go and track past contributions? But definitely everything produced by now will get a DOI. Please, any proposal?
Yes.
Will, in my opinion, is better than not having the DOI.
Yes.
Can we all agree that videos or PDF files or PPT, whatever we think, because digital object identifier can be anything, right? Let's start by tracking those. While I think you heard the feedback, and I think both of you are very senior and have the knowledge to come up with a proposal that will, but please also think of the other one. Minimal overhead for those administering.
Oh, yes.
So I would say, please, no review. Again, do not go down the path of creating new material just for the, let's call it in the letter now, is my suggestion. Minimal modifications of existing material presented here is perfectly fine. But say, just call and ping, say, hey, do you want to write a new 4 or 5 page on this topic? Is, in my opinion, a little bit of a tall order for many people who have so many other things to compete with. So my suggestion would be focus on existing work that people prepare just to present here, for example, right? Or they're doing anyways, but they're highly relevant to the group, would be my recommendations. But please weigh everybody's opinion and then come back either by email or the next meeting with a solid proposal. That's what we should do. That's how we should call it. These are the mechanics, and this is how we implement it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's just.
Yeah, just a short comment. Just to take into consideration also that we have this ACM segment records is also, it has an ISSN, it has DOIs. Every column that we publish has a DOI. We have the opportunity to publish 4 articles per year. I don't know if there is some inconvenience that is not VQEG, it's ACM but it is published in the ACM digital library. It's in a blog. I mean, and it's also related to the special interest group on multimedia. So, I mean, readers are who, if anybody is reading that, so people will go
So
there.
the way I would put it, let's not, forget if there is an existing effort that work, do not replicate that part, right? So I would say, let's see what additional to that. I would not really negate and take over, quote unquote, an activity that in my opinion is very successful. And thanks to you and everybody who put the work. So I would say this can be a complementary, but not really
Especially
competing.
to not, I mean, not do twice the effort.
Twice the effort.
So yeah.
Anything else?
No.
No, I think it's clear how to move
Okay.
forward at this point, and then we come back.
Patrick would like to maybe close with a.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing which you can go back on the slide where you had the list of editor and but it's this one. I think it's important also that becoming A of a journal is it's a recognition, or even edit EIC or AE, it's a recognition. I think similarly to pushing, as you said yesterday, Yanni, new blood in VQEG, this format is also a way to promote some new fellow and having some kind of role similar to AE, and hopefully they will get AE a position in journal later on. But we can use this also to as a, let's say, mentoring or training or visibility for the youngest fellow of VQEG to get exposure as a role of AE. So I think we can have also.
Yes, definitely.
We can
because
use this tool to do that also.
Use the opportunity to clean up, allow me to call the existing list, right? So just a polite email so that you know you're involved in this. Are you active? Do you want to remain active? Yes, no, right? One answer.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm going to say. Oh, lovely. That's good.
Go to the e-letter discussion, and the single again decision is to immediately act upon getting DOE.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
DOI,
that was
sorry.
my
DOI.
interpretation.
Okay, next up, what's next? We said so.
I think probably the let's say the urgent thing or urgent is for what we do next. I mean,
Shall we take a break from the hosting of the next one to discuss again, it's very preliminary, right? It was just like slapping together a few slides about what I call the long-term future of VQEG, or would you like to discuss the next meeting and then?
okay, what time do we have? I mean, is it?
Yeah, we are going to time cap the discussion because I know the future of VQEG can last for the rest of the day. Let's just say that today people will hear one opinion, have a few constructive feedback, but no decision. We make it very clear. And I'm cognizant that Alex in particular requested, rightly so, such a major to get heads up. We did not give anybody a heads up, so there is going to be no decision on this topic. Just a presentation of a potential set of moving forward that, again, is not even polished. So even me and Cosmin, who are the contributors of this, we do not agree amongst ourselves. So don't be surprised if we have a very lively discussion among the contributors. So bear with me. Okay, so again, this is very ad hoc, right? Big disclaimer, not polished, just a seed of an idea, no decision today. So we've been actually thinking for quite some time, the personal level, again, a big disclaimer, individuals, not Meta employees talking here. What can we do to help the group perhaps take a different form? And so the one-liner is to set up a non-for-profit organization, okay? So again, very quickly, why we need 5 potential steps and just one proposal. I call it one is because I think there may be a Cosmin's proposal or variation to it. So again, for me, these are the 3 points I want to consider and why you should do it, right? So if you remember, there was this video quality, by the way, another position paper that we can immediately get, right? We have this document, we worked for quite some time within Norm, which you call video quality metadata proposal, right? It's been, I forgot now, maybe 2 years that we iterated, and in my opinion, very good document. It's still a proposal. Was actually sent to both AOM and MPEG ITUT, specifically JVET. But the fact of the matter is that MPEG refused to accept it, quote unquote, on legal grounds. There was absolutely no question at the personal level that this is very solid, but they said we have no mechanism to accept from an ad hoc group, okay? AOM did demonstrate higher flexibility, but nevertheless, for other reasons, that hasn't materialized. It's still on our to-do list, but please keep that in mind, that specifically for sending liaison statements to international organizations, we need to have some kind of standing outside of a group of people. I think personally that in the world we are living today, we think we need a framework that doesn't depend on any government operation for the survival of the group. So having our private entity is, I think, more important than having something that is tied up to, you know, the Greek government or the US government or the Chinese government or any other government. That's my second consideration. And I think that longevity of a structure cannot really depend on a few specific individuals, right? For example, for as long as you have Cell, we are covered, right? But, you know, or Yanni. But what happens when Yanni, for whatever reason, is not here? We have a structure in place that people can come in and out. These are my 3 concerns. So again, on the second part, what can be done then? Okay, non-for-profit. For those who don't know, just a very quick, this is literally a copy paste, and the sources are there. It's a non-for-profit that publishes about how to do non-for-profits. Okay, it can be a circular reference here, right? How to start? I mean, these are very obvious questions. First of all, do we need a non-for-profit? Now, is there something already there that solves the problem? What is the problem we're trying to solve? Who will serve? And are they similar or not? Are they the ones that exist financially stable? And what will make our nonprofit better than the ones that potentially exist? I think that's a very short question. In my opinion, there is nobody in the world that solves the problem of measuring video quality. Okay, so we're de facto the only solution there. Now, what's the business plan? As you understand, any company, for good or bad, needs to have a business plan. So in other words, how will the money come in and be spent so that you don't really depend essentially going bankrupt, right? So I think for that part, the key word here is the volunteer nature, that we're not going to have anybody getting paid for it, except for, of course, the people that at the end, as you will see, of the year will file 1 tax form, say an accountant, 2 hours, and the lawyer that will draft the documents. Is really the hope here, even though we know that hosting a website is $100 a year, for example, or $5 a year, right? I hope that within this group, we can afford $100 a year for the foreseeable future. So we're not talking about thousands or tens of thousands. I hope it's going to be in the hundreds or at most low thousands, so that you understand. So that, in my opinion, solves the financial question. Again, what are the costs? The cost, it depends on where you do it, which state, whether we need an office. I think we don't need an office. Okay, let's make it clear. We just need an address always to have. And there is plenty of volunteers here who can offer their own residence as an office for that, okay? Depends on the state, but in general, you need an attorney who locally will draft the bylaws and set up the non-for-profit. Again, I'll skip the rest because it's really now further on how will it demonstrate its impact, and is it the right solution for our community? I think the answer is very obviously yes, especially after the steps we just talked about being proactive, publishing, and making sure, right? We need to avoid conflicts of interest, right? It cannot be, Cosmin's a way of funneling money from here or there. That's really a given in any one of these structures. Okay, then we need to select founding board of directors. It's a legal requirement. I think we have enough senior people that can be elected by this group to be. And then we need to go to the step number 3 to do the actual incorporation, go through state forms. Then we open a bank account. Then we apply for insurance if we think we're going to be sued, right? So nobody will have personal liability. And we need to report at the end of the year, typically, that's the money that came in, that's the money that went out, and the compliance will remain. Now, keep in mind, for this country, being a nonprofit has significant advantages. It means anyone who donates money will get a tax exemption for the full amount, as long as it's a non-for-profit. And that incentivizes, believe me, a whole lot of people, especially people who really believe in the cause of, say, video quality, to donate sometimes significant money. I don't want to over-promise and under-deliver, but I do foresee quite a lot of people who will gladly contribute, if need be, for this running of the operation for the foreseeable future. Okay, then you go through a set of standard stuff like getting an employer. This will allow us, for example, to hire maybe one person that will do the maintenance of the website, right? And get paid through some IRS forms. And then we need to every year do the local and state government filings and compliance. Okay, so the proposal here for today, but again, we don't need to make a decision, is you just continue to say, hey, Yanni and Cosmin, since you already raised your hand, keep investigating so that you understand, okay, how much is the attorney, how much is the accountant, so that we can go ahead and incorporate in Nevada, USA, okay? And again, at this point, I want to make very clear, we're not gonna start a GoFundMe campaign for people to contribute. It's gonna be personally covered. So the group does not need to concern who's gonna pay for if we decide to do it, the attorney and the accountant. Now, the idea is that the bylaws, the way I call them bylaws, they're actually just a set of objectives and rules we have on our website today will be maintained intact when it comes to the rules of engagement and everything we listed there. I'm not gonna flash it, but you should just, for those who haven't read it, please go ahead and read what it is there in the different sections. Now, after this is done, assuming it's done, then all the administrative activities that are currently handled by NTIA and Margaret, web hosting, mail reflectors, FTP repository will be gradually transferred to this new entity. And the long-term funding would be truly these volunteer donations, potentially even corporate sponsorship, right? Corporations sponsor conferences. And here we're talking about a fraction of that cost for a year. So I personally am very optimistic that funding will never be an issue for VQEG. Okay, that's basically it, right? And again, no decision needs to be taken today other than if we all agree, okay, Yanni, no green light, let's say yellow light, keep checking. We are not really opposing, but if there is any strong opposition today, I want to hear that. Yeah, right. Yanni, please do not waste your time. Time is more important than money, right? Because of reason ABC, could be legal, could be personal, could be ethical, could be whatever people think about. Or because people think that we have no problem, right? Why change something that works? That's it. I will let first Cosmin, being the co-author of this contribution, to comment, even though, again, we didn't even have time to sync up. But he'll surprise.
I hope it's not a surprise. Let me turn around so I can see everybody.
And by the way, you may want to talk about us taking the proactive step with at least mirroring, right? So there is.
Sure. So I think there's going to be some questions, obviously, like, okay, if we're going to do an entity, where should it be located? Like, should it be in the US? Is that going to be a problem? I think that's going to be a question on, a few people's minds from kind of talking about this. And I think it's a very good question. What I would say is that there's a few benefits to being in the US and obviously some drawbacks of being in the US. One benefit of being in the US is having a nonprofit standing in the US, like a 501c3, makes it tax deductible for US entities to donate. And obviously that's something that we have an interest in because it means that if I personally make donations to the group, I can deduct those from my taxes. If Meta makes donations to the group, they can, and likewise with Netflix and YouTube and anybody else. I think we have quite a lot of like potential US corporate sponsors, and being nonprofits does help with that. Obviously also biased from the point of view of that's something that I have personal experience with, nonprofits in the US and nonprofits in Nevada, or other things that I volunteer with on the side. So I can't comment on the nonprofit status in Luxembourg, but I know a thing or two about the nonprofit in the US and what that means. So it's definitely something to consider, but I think certainly other proposals can be looked at as well if somebody knows something that could be a better fit, perhaps, other than that. The other thing I'll say about the US nonprofit is a lot of well-established nonprofits in the US already between, and some of them are not necessarily nonprofit like 501c3, but AOM, but also you have like Linux Foundation and Wikimedia and Software in the Public Interest and Mozilla and on and on and on. Like there's a long list of like well-established nonprofits in the US, and I think hasn't really been a problem to date, the current geopolitical situation kind of notwithstanding. But I think it could be okay, right? There's the other thing to kind of mention on that part. But regardless of what it is, I'm more than happy to support it. If we decide to do it somewhere else, if I would put $1,000 to help it kick off in the US, I'm happy to put $1,000 to kick off somewhere else as well. It's not a problem. It's not like I will only help if it's here. I'm just saying that I'm happy to help if it's here because I have experience with it, but I'm happy to contribute regardless of where it is because I do think it's the right direction for the group as a whole. So that's mostly what I wanted to add to what you want to said already.
And we can open up for discussion. Again, let's time cap it only because I want to make sure we cover the upcoming meetings, which maybe is more pressing. So I don't know how many microphones are. Let's give it to Narciso.
I think it's a good proposal because at the end, there are, let me say, in two steps. One is to create a non-profit organization, and the other one is to decide where this non-profit organization should be located. The first one, I think there is no alternative. And if you go to the second one, there is one advantage of being located in US, that you have the same legal system for the whole country, where in Europe we have 17, 25 different legal systems. That means depending on the country is different. That's one point. And the second one is that the good idea to be able to receive donations, you need to look for the possible origin of the donations. And VQEG is clearly a company-based organization in US, an academic-based organization elsewhere. So for me, the answer of the two questions you pose is okay, a yes in both cases. And then the decision of Nevada, I presume that is because you know better Nevada than any other place. But I recognize I am a novice in that area and I cannot help on that.
Thank you. And I mean, if you don't mind, I see Margaret online, and because her name is actually
Yes.
shown here, we owe it to Margaret. Margaret, please go ahead.
Thank you. I strongly support this idea. I think it is a fabulous direction to go. I really look forward to this happening. I would like to add one other issue to look into is sending liaison statements to the ITU. I don't know if there's any impact on that. But it would be nice if VQEG would still have that ability. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. I mean, coming from you, I can say it's a very strong endorsement, so I appreciate your support here. And for the latter one, I presume I'm not a lawyer, okay? And sometimes these organizations, but I think we need to reestablish an official liaison of the new entity, right? Call it whatever. The new VQEG or whatever name we decide to give, or just VQEG with now each and every organization we want to exchange liaisons is my guess. So we need to reestablish.
That makes sense.
Name?
Yeah, I think so. This is a very good proposal as well. That's, I think so. We remember that one when Arthur was there, then there was a discussion on the legal entity as well, but there is some restriction for this US government that we can't do this thing. But I think so. This is a very positive side. With respect to the non-profit organization registration, I think so. It's a good idea to be have in US. However, there is some little be a problem as well, because now when you put a donation here, that's only the US tax employer, they can get exempted, but not from Europe. For example, if I would like to donate over from UK, to donate over there, I will not get any tax exempt because I was based in UK. So but what I see in real picture, most of the donations should come from US rather than from Europe as a practicality over there as well. So I think so this is a very good suggestion.
I see David, and David has a special standing also being a jurist, right? So he's a
Yes, being
attorney at law.
Being attorney at law, it's a very interesting discussion here for me. First of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone that it happened that starting from, as I remember, 1997, VQEG is operating without any legal status. It's from my perspective as a lawyer, it's wonderful and
miracle, right?
Yes,
it's almost a miracle.
Yes, it's like a miracle, and it guarantees that this organization has a strong background. This is maybe quite a funny point, but another issue is that for sure this status is really important for visibility, but also generates some maybe not the problems but challenges in organization, because for example yesterday's example when Marta started to be chair of co-chair of IMG, you see, I like it a lot. It was by acclamation. we didn't vote, and it's wonderful way of proceeding such a situation. But from, let's say, perspective of organization, we need to establish some statutes, yes, rules of proceedings, and for example, because I think when we think from today's perspective, Cosmin, Ioannis, who will, let's say, do this background work to prepare this organization, this paperwork and so on, they will be, let's say, their names will be connected with this non-profit organization. But I assume that maybe some life can change, and for example, Cosmin or Ioannis will change the direction. They, for example, start a vineyard or something like this, and don't want to do any more work with VQEG. And then we need to change something, yes. So this need also procedures, how to change chairs or people responsible for this organization to, let's say, guarantee that it will work for ages more. This makes us, let's say, more bounded with regulations, with voting, with procedures, who is a member, who can vote, who is not a member, who can vote. Because, for example, I'm young, maybe I'm not well prepared to let's say, decide what is good or not for this organization. There are much more experienced people who maybe should vote and have should be more decisive in this process. Maybe those who, let's say, maybe donates more should be more, let's say, have a stronger status, but it generates problems.
Yes. Okay, let's be very clear.
Yeah,
money plays no role when it comes to VQEG.
Yeah, it's
nevertheless the point is well taken.
Yes, it need to be stated, because, for example, if we have kind of sponsorships or donations from organization outside the organization like Meta or YouTube or Netflix or so on, they maybe they want to influence the directions of VQEG operations. Yeah, but is it really a problem? I don't know. Maybe we should consider it or not.
But again, let's be very clear. The way I know, a healthy 501c3 does not get any strings attached to any donation.
Yeah.
As far as I know, maybe there are some ways to donate with a clause, but the moment you donate money, you just write it off from your tax, and that's it. Nothing gets back in return. The other point, again, I think that yes, you need bylaws. I'm not a lawyer. I'm happy you are, so we can have. It's not a problem that I think a lawyer cannot solve.
Yeah,
and I definitely cannot solve it. But all I'm saying is that if we really put this as our requirements, right? So our requirements is nobody gets money out of this, right? 2, we maintain the integrity. And these are our current procedures. You don't want to call them bylaws. Please transfer them in legalese. I think a good lawyer will do it. I have faith in that. And I see David, who maybe has experience on non-for-profits more than me.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously not going to comment on the legal side, but logistically, I can't help but wonder if you're kind of opening a can of worms here. Like, it gets very, very complicated to get this set up properly to manage the U.S. 501(c) laws are complex, requirements, reporting, the governments, everything. By the time you get done, just getting this set up, I mean, the cost could be quite high. Why wouldn't you consider joining an umbrella organization and just, you could still have the non-paid model, everybody contributing, but now you get the benefit of, and I'm not saying the Linux Foundation, but AOM, rather than having their own entity, is part of Linux Foundation. So why not? Because I'm afraid once, it sounds like an easy and inexpensive way here, but I have a feeling once you get going, it could get very expensive very fast.
And that's where I expect a good accountant and a lawyer,
Yeah.
right, to come back and say, yeah, don't do it, or
Yeah.
whatever. You guys don't do it. Just join an existing non-for-profit under this
Right.
schema and be done with it. But I cannot really comment.
And again, I'm not suggesting the Linux Foundation
No,
at
no,
all, but I'm
that's
simply saying
by way
we're
of
an
example.
org like the Linux Foundation, you're automatically an international. You're both a US nonprofit, but you're also already international if it's an international nonprofit umbrella.
And I see Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that you have worked this out in such a detailed way, right? And I'm generally, I think I find the overall approach understandable and meaningful. I just also would like to emphasize that I would really like to make sure that, I mean, what I really appreciate about VQEG as it stands, right? And maybe it's not even written somewhere, but it is this uniformity, so to speak, in terms of how we handle individuals who are contributing, right? So everyone gets the opportunity to kind of participate and to put out presentations and so on, right? So it's a community which I think lives from the liberty and freedom and non-existence of barriers to participate, right? And I'm not sure really we find this all in the bylaws. I have not checked them recently, right? So of course maybe it's all there, and then we can all preserve it. But and the second point, which okay, I really hope that if the big players are actually giving money for this, that there is no hidden expectation coming, right? Because that I would also find really sad. I mean, see, what I really like about this is this openness, and that there are no kind of, and obviously, I mean, if some parties are funded by big players, then they do better research, that's natural. But if this whole kind of VQEG is moving towards the big players, right, and basically the smaller contributors, of which we have quite a few here, I think, over and over again, new ones, right? They get lost in a way. I think it would be, losing a little bit of this interesting exchange that we have here on a worldwide scale, right? Probably this can all be solved in providing proper rules, right? But I see there a certain danger if it is really driven solely, I mean, just because of the money is there by or mostly by the big players, right? I would find that regrettable. Maybe we can avoid it and it will not happen, right? I think it's a bit different to the Linux Foundation, for example, or even other things, right? Wikipedia was mentioned. Wikimedia, I mean, there it's obvious any kind of knowledge is fed into this, right? Anyone can, in principle, use Linux. Of course, I mean, you're a tech expert, but those who actually really are interested in using video quality stuff are obviously those who, for example, are forming alliances in AOM and the like, right? So actually, it's rarely the people who, in contrast to other developer tools, right? It's rarely the people who develop, I mean, the academic people who develop video quality tools are unlikely to be the ones that are really in massive ways using those video quality tools, right? Yeah, I hope you understand what I mean, right? So if I'm actually investing time to make any stuff in Linux better because it's open source, then I, as a developer, may benefit from it directly. I hope it gets clear, right? So it's not, I'm not at all against it, and I'm happy if you pursue this proposal further to check it out, how things are. It's more like a little bit of a academic skepticism, let's say.
These are well taken, at least for me. So again, I hope that these 4 bullets somehow covers your concerns on the bullet number 2, right? Now, whether that's legally possible, as you say, I don't know. And again, I'm no lawyer, so I cannot really speak about it. All we are asking is that I didn't hear any sort of veto, quote unquote, or very strong objection of not continuing this investigation. Should we take it that at least we can continue spending our time and money to concretize a proposal that sort of makes sense, or no?
Yeah, so for me, I think the answer is yes. It would be interesting to continue investigate. I would also like to get a list of pros and cons. What is the pros of the current organization and the new? And I have a little bit of fear of the bringing money into the equation is always contentious and may create something that we don't have. And I think that the strengths of VQEG so far have been that we have not handled money at all there, and which has also been what has sustained the organization so far. But I think we should not also be bound with what we have done. We should see if we can develop. But it would be very interesting to contrast what is the pros and cons by going in one direction or stay in the same direction.
Very good. I see both Margaret and Cosmin. But I'm trying to do the next meeting before the break, so people may need to wait a little bit for the coffee break. I really want to conclude now. So, Margaret, why don't you go ahead first?
Thank you. Just two quick comments. I like Alex's point about examining the rules of VQEG, make sure they cover everything that we've been doing, like making sure everyone has the chance to speak up. And I don't think that's in our rules, so it would be worth examining them. The part of the reason I support looking into and potentially having a legal identity is to support VQEG moving forward. And sorry, I didn't catch who said it, but to increase the likelihood that VQEG will be around in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So I think personally, these issues are worth examining to increase longevity. Thank you.
Quickly, maybe.
Very quickly. So on the topic of money, again, I want to reiterate, based on everything I know so far, again, from experience with similar small nonprofits, we're talking about a budget of single-digit thousands of dollars per year. We're not talking about like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, where there's going to be obviously huge donations. There's always going to be politics. There's going to be implications. If our operating budget is $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year, that's very easy to get without any strings attached. So I really hope that we can, not be too concerned about the fact that, as soon as we bring money into this, there's going to be a lot of incentives to have some, subvertive contributions, right? We're not talking about having like something like the Linux Foundation where it has like a huge budget and armies of lawyers and people getting paid and whatever. We're talking about something just small enough to pay for hosting, to pay for, ISSN, for whatever we need to do, something very, very small, right? So hopefully we can, like, even collectively amongst ourselves, if we pass the hat around, we might be able to put that together without having to go ask anybody else. But I think, again, because we're talking about small amounts, it should be very easy to also get 1 or 2 or 3 companies to cut us a small check. So that's all.
Thank you. In the interest of time, thank you all. Again, this was just food for thought, no decision other than do not stop. That's really the message I want to make sure that we still have the go-ahead, capturing everybody's concerns and taking into account moving forward. So the pros and cons, etc.
Could I ask you to enter that text into the Google Doc and with the decision that we said it will continue?
Yeah, we'll continue and capture at least the highlights. I cannot capture everybody's concern, but I will capture the concerns were about money and the influence of perhaps donors. What was the other concern? Maintaining the openness to the fullest extent, even if it goes outside. But I would say Margaret's point, please read VQEG.org about. If you capture something missing, immediately flag it So at least, because that's what the lawyer will say, okay, I can really make sure these are carried over in the bylaws. If it's not there, they will not put it in the bylaws. So it's up to us to concretize and settle that. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
especially that
can you
text.
add this point also that this should be taken a look at and maybe even give some time by which people should be doing this? I think this would be really good.
Yeah.
Say, give them a couple of weeks, right, so that everyone who has not participated in our current session gets aware of it. I really think it's a very good point.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, all. Can we do it in 6 minutes, perhaps, right? So let's start. We have, I think, 2 additional items to discuss today, logistically. One, when and where and how we do the, let's call it winter 2025 meeting. And I want to hear what proposals are on the table. 2, where we host the 2026, for sure, in-person meeting. What are the tables?
I would like to, maybe we just take the first and let's make a offline meeting, offline meet, but call for a meeting in a couple of months to discuss the next meeting. Then we will have all the information of what we asked for when it comes to when someone could host or not for.
So let me be clear. So we only discuss the winter 2025 now.
Yeah, I think.
And the 2026, we put it on ice until we collect all the necessary information and we decide later. Is that okay? We only talk about 2025 winter today and we do not pick or, we freeze the discussion about the 2026 spring in person. Okay, let's do that. Talk about 2025 winter. So I'll just capture what I heard through the grapevine because it's not an official proposal. Proposal 1, go the path we went the last 3 years, fully virtual. Therefore, there is no real host except, I don't know, University of Torino offering a Zoom link, and that's it, right? Option 1. Option 2, who would like to elaborate on it? Patrick, Cosmin, I heard a few ideas.
I mean, I can do it. So I think the one interesting idea that circulated in after hours conversations is trying to do something more co-located and in person. I definitely found that the in-person meetings are significantly more valuable than the fully remote ones. It's very hard to stay focused for a whole week of fully virtual meetings. So one option is to do something co-located with either PCS or VSIP and or both, maybe as part of a special session at one, a special session at the other one, and then we can have some sessions remotely as well. So that way we can bring some amount of in-person participation to the winter meeting whilst maybe still keeping some things remotely. So if there's some particular working groups between VQEG that would be a very good fit for a special session at either PCS or VSIP, we could do those there and then we can do the rest perhaps remotely. So if we do it in this way though, it would not be all in 1 week, Monday to Friday, dedicate the full week to it. It would be, 1 or 2 days 1 week, 1 or 2 days the other week, and then maybe something in between. So that's sort of the alternative. And of course, the third option is to just do it fully in person somewhere as well, obviously, if we're putting all the options on the table. But yeah.
Just to be clear, do we have at least a tentative agreement from either VCIP or PCS that they can host 1 day or 2 days or the whole event? Do you have an indication that this is on the table?
Yeah, so I mean, I talked to Hadi about doing something at VSIP, and he seems very supportive of the idea. So it was not an official ask because we didn't make an official decision, but I asked if we were to do this, would that be good? And he said that he thinks that's a great idea. So I'm confident that we can make that happen. We did not explore PCS. That's just something that we discussed.
All right. Questions or comments before we start taking straw polls at this point, because we don't have the full participation. But at least we would like to have preference at least registered somehow. Any questions on the proposal?
So right now VQEG meetings are 1 week, right? Online meetings are only half day, long half days, but just in the European afternoon, and face-to-face meeting one way. So if you think about co-locating with a conference, how long are we expecting to be? I mean, because it's actually in parallel to the conference, is after or before the conference, is including weekends. So I mean, all these things are relevant. So which is the time? I mean, what are we talking about in terms of time, basically?
And it's not in parallel. So the parallel track is actually the special session that we put inside the program, and it's an extra day that we're talking about. That is after or before the conference. In some conferences, and there are many these days, you have workshop also that are usually right after the main program or before the main program. You can have one full day dedicated to your activities. So a big conference like that are ICASP, ICIP, to name a few, ICME. You have always a possibility to own your own workshop the way you want. And then that means you have all the benefit to, the drawback of this is that you need to register to the conference. So, so it's not.
So let's look at the dates. Sorry if I interrupt. Keep those in mind. This is 1 to 4 of December as advertised right now. It may be extended, for example, if you decide, okay, December 1 to 4. And PCS, that's in Klagenfurt, Austria. And then PCS is in Aachen, Germany, 8 through 11, right? So we can put a calendar and see where these dates land, but this pretty much anchors and makes it immutable our dates. I'll start with that. Do people have any commitments or any objections to doing somewhere? I'll put very tentatively 4 through the 8th, right? If you capture the last day and the first day is the only logical thing I can think of, and the week in between. One thing to consider. Second, there will be cost associated, no matter how slice it and dice it. Either to pay for the room we're going to be occupying on the sidelines of the main conference, or pay a minor registration fee. I'm not saying this is a showstopper. I just want to list what I believe would be the deltas, right? 1, we anchor to that specific date. 2, there is some registration. And 3, someone needs to be in charge to make it happen with the organizers of these 2 conferences and ensure that this is viable. These are my only 3 points.
And 4, we are talking about taking the VQEG meeting on the weekend?
Again, this is
I mean,
exactly, we need a proposal for that. It's going to be there broken with a break with 2 weekends, because there are 2 weekends, I think. Again, can you bring up the calendar? I don't want to break my work calendar because that's.
I'm trying to figure out what we're talking about in terms of time, right? Because it's a 1-day workshop, it's a 4-day meeting, including a weekend. Is we meet a week, we meet a Friday, we go home for the weekend, we meet again on Monday. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to understand because I really don't.
To me, we have an opportunity here because.
I mean, weekend is a showstopper for me. Period, right? So I mean, I will strongly oppose to move VQEG meetings to weekends. I mean, off daily work.
Yeah. I think if we look at the date, I believe VCIP is till Thursday.
Okay, 1 through 4 means it opens up the opportunity to have the 5th of December, which is a Friday.
Exactly.
8th is a Monday. Therefore, I don't see VQEG squeezing in unless we are willing to take the weekends, right? In between to do a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then it's gonna collide with the last day of the conferences. Do people want to move it up and make sure that we take the 12th? So again, I would like to have a concrete proposal. Which days are people really thinking about hosting it in this hybrid format? Okay. That's the other thing I pointed. It could be, I don't know, November 90, then take a break, go to VCIP, then do the 5th, then take another break and go do, I mean, again, but we need to have some dates that ideally do not collide with the active program of VCIP, because you don't want to bring people to the point that I do either VCIP or VQEG, right? I don't know who raised the hand first, do you know? Okay, let's go. Let's give the benefit of doubt to Alex. Alex?
Yeah, I think it's in principle a nice idea actually to have one day basically in common. What if we did I don't know, for example, just as an example, the 11th and then in person, right, for who would be there, and sorry, the 12th, that is, and then use 15, 16, 17 for online, right? Something like this, so that there is, okay, there's a weekend in between where we wouldn't work, right? And yeah, it would be a bit limited, the in-presence part, right? But maybe it is considering that we didn't like plan it in advance for a very long time, right? I mean, even influencing maybe the settings of those two conferences. Yeah, we at least have this 11th as a bridging point, and people who are in the same place could even, you know, hang out together at least on the Saturday still, and then basically 15, 16, 17 is online. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. And I saw name. I don't know who raised hand.
Yeah, one thing is actually, we have to think rather than to be with a floating conferences, we can go, if we can stick with one particular conference, then it will be easy. Like a Qualinet is always with the QMax, right? So if we can, maybe not now, but in the future, actually, we can think about like this type of.
Let's table the discussion for the future later, because we are on our coffee break, by the way, if you haven't realized. Coffee break is now 10 minutes. Can we today make a decision on a, I'll call it for now, hybrid, capturing part of VCIP and part of PCS decision? Are we in a position? Or people need more time and we need to carry it over by email? Is my only ask at this point, because
I think we need to work out a concrete proposal. It's seems to be unclear really how this is going to be organized. And if we have a concrete proposal, I mean, like a broken online meeting where someone is or some people are gathering in one room and have the online meeting from that position, or it will be an online meeting in parallel with some people gathering at the location of the conference, then yeah, we can make a decision. But now
I think we're in thin air right now. Don't have a concrete. Can we agree for whoever is proposing the hybrid format to concretize and say, actually not one, but maybe there is option one. I don't know what we heard from Alex. Option two with this format, and please capture what the group I think just said. Please try not to include weekends is one ask that I would say is a little bit hard. I would definitely don't want to include weekends, and see what would be the financial impact. Even if it's minor, say there is €100, for example, to cover that 1 day registration.
In the case of PCS, VCIP, it will be a side event, so we don't need to pay registration for that. It's not part of the program yet.
Okay, so now we're talking about just co-located event not advertised to PCS.
Yeah.
But who's going to pay for the room?
Well, that's something we have to. Did we pay something in Klagenfurt?
This is all I'm saying. Just put down that the estimated cost, if we do option one, is €100 based on some data.
I can't remember.
Option two is €20, right? Option three is €1,000, and option four is €0. People need to know that.
Yeah, of course.
So I'd like to get something more fundamental maybe answered, because I think there's a few things, like we can come up with something concrete. I can make up 3 variants right now on the spot and we can have something we can look at. But the more fundamental, I think, question is there interest in having fully in person, partially online, or fully online in general? If everybody would say like, no, I would prefer to be fully online because I don't want to travel for the winter meeting, I really liked being fully remote, then there's no point to waste a lot of time with exploring alternatives because most people don't really care. If we think it would be valuable to do in person, then the question is, do we go fully in person? Do we go partially in person? And we can come up with some proposals that can work.
So can we have a straw poll? Sorry if I cut short. Can we have a straw poll right now with a show of hands, non-committal? If it were to happen in a format that is TBD, that includes, say, 1 day physically, but always the option to anyways do remote, right? Who would attend physically that 1 day at a minimum in either VCIP or PCS? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have 7 out of 20 people. Okay, so that's a good. And Maria, you raise your hand because you are going to be, or you want to talk?
Yes, both of them. So
Oh, both of them. Okay, so we
I
have
would-
8 out of.
Yeah, so at
out
the
of
moment I
30.
will be able to, at the moment I will be able to attend if nothing changes. And I
Okay.
will raise the hand to support the hybrid idea for the December meeting. And I liked also the proposal that Alex did.
Very good. Thank you, Maria. So I think there is enough evidence that there is sufficient interest. Eight out of 30 is what I counted, right? So that's like 25%, right? We have 25% possibility of that
Sorry,
working
it's
better.
not, it's 9 out of, because I just jotted in
Okay.
the chat. So this time I
Very
think
good.
it's actually a nice idea.
Very good. 9 out of 30, and this can go roughly 33%.
Yeah, I want to address another point and disconnect. So there is VQEG on one side, but also special session. Can we talk a little bit about that? The interest to propose a special session either to VCIP or PCS on behalf of VQEG. So anyone want to?
I'm sorry, this cannot be done right now. We can spill it over after the break for sure.
No,
We are
that's
already-
something I want to put on the table because the idea also is to reach out other community, make the visible what we are doing, and it can be in any of the group who said within the VQEG say, okay, we want to put a special session on that topic, and it would be mostly driven by VQEG.
I think for again, in the interest of time, why don't, let's say, the proponents of the idea, which is many, right, 30%, come up with a proposal that says this is solution. That includes a special session or not a special session, right?
I think we can disconnect the two discussions. The first thing is that do we want to put a special session at PCS or VCIP? And I want to raise also the issue that we already missed the deadline for the VCIP special session proposal. Yeah, exactly. VCIP, it was May 1st. We can maybe
and I believe
approach a
PCS
special session chair because they have to put the decision 15th of May. We have just few days if we, just in case we want to do a special session at VCIP.
And I think the same for PCS.
PCS
Is it still open, the special session? I don't.
It's Bjorn and Frédéric Dufault, which are special session chair. We can approach them if we want to put a special session at VCIP. We can try to contact them and see if it's still open or not.
Okay, so what do we decide today? So what do you capture as a decision that we take today? A, the group, 30% part of the group could benefit from a hybrid meeting, A. B, we need a cap, 1, 2, or more concrete proposals on the dates and the format and the financial cost. Is that a fair summary of what we covered about the meeting? And then we have another item about a special session. By a show of hands, because we have really no more time, would we like to propose and see if it's accepted a special session? Do you have a special session chair, volunteer, who will handle the special session, first of all?
I'm special session chair of PCS, so I cannot propose a special session at
So,
PCS.
yeah,
I can
for
select
whatever
the
reason,
special
right?
session.
Conflict of interest or personal time. Do we have a volunteer who will gather together a proposal for a VQEG special session, either at VCIP or PCS or both, either from remote or local?
So, sorry, I'm just speaking up. I am inclined to really like the idea of a special session at PCS, right? The issue is I will not have the time to set up the proposal, but later on I can help it could be some sort of co-chair. I will later on be able to help and get it run, so to speak, right? But it's a bit difficult for me, unfortunately, to, at this point, with a tight timing, to come up with a proposal myself. Yeah.
Okay, so
But I really second this, yeah.
We have Alex, who tentatively can serve as a special session organizer / chair. Did I see name? So we have 2 names. So we have 2 names that potentially can lead the effort. Does the group agree to work towards a special session? And the underlying idea is that at least people will contribute to the special session. It's going to be open to others, but I think it makes perfect sense that the group here tentatively can make submissions to this special session. And of course, be present there to present it, right? It's three things: organizers, papers, and physical presence for presentation. Who could tentatively propose papers? No commitment, just potentially. 1, 2.
I think we have to check the
3.
deadline for submission. In theory, we could submit something. I have to check the deadline for special session papers.
Okay, I see at least 4 or 5 hands. I see 2 chairs. I see this is a no-brainer. So I think we can capture. Yeah.
Keep in mind that PCS is not VCIP, and topic-wise, we may want to have different things. So in PCS, it's picture coding symposium. So that's to deal somehow with this and fit the topic of the conference, while VCIP is more about visual communication. So
yeah.
So the topic is also important if you want to fit in a...
Okay, so I think we can capture by there is enough interest for both chairing and organizing. Please put Naim and Alex as tentative organizers, and enough interest to submit and eventually present work from VQEG by at least 5 or 6 people. Therefore, I think we should all, unless there is an objection, agree that we can work towards, but we need immediate action. Who will today send an email to Matthias? Who will send an email to Christian, right? And Hadi to get an answer, yes, or the door is shut. So this is not an option. That's what we really need to have ASAP. Which one of these options is open? Do you have a volunteer who will send the emails and handle the communication with the chairs? So Cosmin will take care of VSIP. Who will take care of PCS? Okay, I don't see any volunteer to communicate with PCS. So are working only towards a VCAP special session?
No, I can communicate with PCS.
Okay, so we have
co-chairs.
Alex's
Yeah.
name, a point of contact to get us an answer about PCS, and let us know if this avenue is open. Very good. Now, here's the bad news for the group. We are not going to break for coffee because we have a person who is from Europe and they need to present. We're going to have coffee after this last presentation of the conference, if there is no objection. Is that okay? Thank you. All right. So at the last presentation.
Sorry, guys, I have to leave. It was great that you hosted this. Take care. And sorry, I'm missing this presentation. Take care, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Bye, Alex. All right. So again, we are switching to the last presentation of the VQEG face-to-face meeting, hybrid in this case. And we have the QA8, quality assessment, I think, for health applications. And I leave it up to Miriam to introduce the presenter. And Miriam, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Anas. Hi, everyone. So I will let Lumi present her work. So it's the PhD defense of Lumi. So around 3 years of work. She will not present everything, but you will have a good idea about what we've been done during this 3 last years. Lumi, is it okay for you?
Yeah, yes. You can hear me? Yeah. Hello? Excuse me.
Yes, you can hear you. You can hear you.
Thank you. Because I had a small problem with the micro and the sound, so I'm not so sure. Okay, thank you. So I will share my screen. Okay, I think it's here. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Lumi, and I have just finished my PhD defense in Rennes last week on Monday. On Monday, I'm sorry, on Monday. And the title is Task-Based Medical Image Quality Assessment by Numerical Observer. And my director is Olivier Desforges. also I have two professors, Marian Wutas and Zhang Lu, and we also have a collaboration professor in University of Nantes. Also, he is also a radiologist expert at University Hospital of Nantes. Here's the outline of my presentation. First, we will look into the introduction, and then we will go step by step into the details of my work, from low-dose CT simulation to adrenalation characterization and AI-based adrenalation characterization, and the last step, adrenalation characterization on the low-dose CT, and of course followed by the final conclusion. So for better understanding the subject, here we have two example images. On the left one is they are both the two images. They are of the same flowers, and apparently the left one is much more clear and much better quality than the right one. So when it comes to the quality of the natural image, we have so many methods. We can easily distinguish them visually or by some physical features, like contrast, sharpness, saturation, exposure, etc. There exist many photograph terms for that, and also there are also many scientific terms known as image quality assessment metrics, such as PNSR, CNR, SSIM, RMSE, etc. Those metrics, this mathematic metrics, they could help us confirm the visual impression on the natural image quality. But however, when it comes to the medical image, it's not always the same case. For example, here we have on the right an example image of a scan of a CT image, and we can manipulate some other conditions so that it will be more contrasted or more noisy or less noisy, etc. But we don't know how these operations will influence the image quality in terms of its diagnostic performance. In fact, what's important in medical image, it's not how it is good looking or not, but how it can convey the useful diagnostic information. So this is why the conventional IQA metrics, they are not so adapted to the medical image quality, because these IQA metrics, they don't necessarily related to a good diagnosis. So here we want to define the quality of medical images not by the traditional IQ metrics, but by its diagnostic performance. So this is a so-called task-based quality. So for the task-based quality, apparently, first of all, we need to have a task. So there are different types of tasks. The simplest one is a detection of a signal, and then it comes to the localization of this signal, and more complicated is the characterization of some more complicated things. And also there are two types of images: simulated images generated by simulated signals, or realistic images really corresponding to our clinic images. So from the task, in our context, we have choose the characterization task and on the realistic images, and for defining this task, we need to find the pathology to work on. So we have chosen the adrenalation because adrenalation is a subject not so well studied, and it's a very challenging task for us because the adrenal gland and the adrenalations, they are very small, so it's very difficult to have their characterized, and also we need to define the figure of merit, because this is for the quality of the medical images. So naturally, we have thought about the confusion matrix and the raw RCK curve for the diagnostic performance. And also, we need an observer to conduct this task. First, the natural observer is undoubtedly the human observer. It's normally the radiologist, the experts in the hospital. They could conduct the characterization task by their experience, their knowledge, etc. And here in our study, we want to develop some numerical observers to imitate the performance of the radiologist expert. And these numerical observers, they are in fact the algorithm which could conduct this same task. So here we can the goal is that we could use the numerical observer to do the diagnostic task, and the images with better FOM, they are the better quality images. So our task is an adrenalation characterization task on CT images. I with a special interest on the different radiation dose CT images. So what is a different radiation dose? In fact, in the CT scan, CT imaging, we always have a strict protocol for conducting an CT exam, because the radiation dose should be restrictly limited for the sake of patient's health. So, for example, here on the left, we have normal dose CT images, and on the right, there is a corresponding lower dose CT images. As we can see, as we decrease the radiation dose, the image quality apparently decreased, for visually speaking. However, how does it influence the diagnostic performance? This is another question. And if we can find that the lower dose CT images in fact could perform satisfactory diagnostic performance, maybe we could eventually one day decrease the necessary radiation dose for conducting the same diagnostic task, which is a very good thing for the patient. So the question for our study is also if the lower radiation dose lead to lower quality. Now let's have a look to our specific pathology, the adrenalation. So here we have an illustration of the adrenal gland. As we can see, this is the red part on the top of the kidney. So it's a very small organ, and as we can see in the right image, in the green box, in the two green box, we can see that the normal form of this organ, it is an inverted Y or inverted V form. However, if there is an lesion, this gland becomes a more circle or more oval in form, and it becomes bigger as well. So In fact, adrenalination is a common finding in the routine CT scans, and the most common lesion type is the adenoma. The adenoma presents most case of the adrenal lesions. However, there are still some non-adenoma lesions which are rare, but they are often malignant. So this requires us to be able to distinguish the adenoma from the non-adenoma. As we just mentioned, the first imaging modality for the diagnosis of adrenalation is the routine CT, and then if we find the adenoma in the routine CT, we need to conduct a multi-phase contrast enhanced CT, which contains 3 different series of CT images. And we will talk about the details later. And there are 2 criteria for the adenoma diagnosis. The first one is attenuation values or CT density, which is represented by the Hausfeld unit. Hausfeld unit smaller than 10, or the absolute or relative washout values bigger than a certain threshold. And we will talk about the washout calculation later as well. So when it comes to our database, we have all our data collected from CHU Nantes, University Hospital of Nantes, and it's composed of 2 parts. The major part 1, includes, and it is a multi-source cohort of normal dose CT. So it includes the multi-phase contrast enhanced CT from 81 lesions, 78 adenomas and 7 non-adenomas from in total 75 patients. And these CT images are coming along with their histopathologic evaluation results. So we know exactly their type of lesions, adenoma or other lesion types. And also we know exactly the washout value calculated by the doctors. And at the bottom, we can see one example image for all the different 3 phases of the CT images. First phase, native phase, is a CT image we obtained before the administration of the contrast agent. And the second phase, the portal phase, is taken just after the administration of the contrast agent. And then the delayed phase are the images generated 10 or 15 minutes after the contrast agent administration. So as we can see, the portal phase, the one used after the contrast agent, is the most contrasted images, and the native one is the less contrasted one, and the delayed one is somewhere in the middle between them. And the second part of our dataset comes from one healthy subject, and it contains it is composed of the normal dose and lower dose CT image pairs, so that we could conduct our low dose simulation study. Now I have a quick look on our figure of merit. So the confusion matrix and the RAC curves itself, it's a very common idea. Here we just want to precise in our context, the 2 positive means the 2 adenoma, and the 2 negative means no adenoma. So the first negative means adenoma misclassified as no adenoma, and the first positive means non-adenoma misclassified as adenoma. Since it's non-adenoma, which is more dangerous, so the true positive so it is a true positive. It is a false positive case more than dangerous because it means potentially we missed some malignant cases, and the true excuse me, and the false and the other case is not so serious because it only leads to unnecessary follow-up. And here it comes. It is a global framework of our work of my thesis. So from the task of adrenalation characterization, which could be divided into two steps. In fact, the 3D segmentation and 3D washout, we have developed two different observers, one semi-automatic one and second one automatic. And our database is the normal density, and we have designed a low density simulator so that we could work on the low density as well. And then we apply these two numerical observers on our dataset, and we compare their different diagnostic performance to see the evolution of the CT image quality in there a bit among the different radiation dose. So the first step of my study is a low dose CT simulation. So how did we realize the low dose CT simulation? In fact, we have considered it as an inverse problem of CT image denoising, because image denoising is a domain where we can find so many interesting studies. So we have took some denoising models, and then we try to adapt it to our low dose simulation problems. And among these models, two models has good performance. One is ResNet model, another is UNIT model. And after all, the UNIT one is proved to be the best model. So we have taken the UNIT model for our low dose simulation. Here is the architecture of the UNIT model. So it's a unit with three encoder and 3 block encoder and 3 block decoder, and the input is a normal dose CT, and the output is the CT noise, or it is a difference image between the normal dose CT and the lower dose CT, between the ND LD CT pair, and in order to adapt this this UNIT model trained on a single source dataset, our part 2 dataset, the pairs of one healthy subject, we need to in order to adapt this model to our bigger dataset, the major dataset from different scanners collected in different years, we have introduced a histogram matching step as the pre-processing, so that the images from different scanners, they are adjusted into the same condition as the images from the part 2 dataset, as the images of the last scanner, so that the trained UNIT model, it could work properly on the bigger dataset as well. And here is an example of our low-dose CT simulation result. Of course, it's on the bigger dataset, the part 1 dataset, our major dataset. And so on the left is original CT, and it's a CT image with normal dose. And on the right, there are simulated lower dose cities. So we can see that as a parameter, scaling parameter lambda increase, the degradation of the city images is more and more serious as well. The second part, and also the major part of my work, is adrenalation characterization. So first of all, a little bit of the state of the art. So in the domain of adrenal imaging, there are majorly two advancements. The first one is adrenalation classification, which is normally a binary classification, where we distinguish the lesion from the normal gland, or distinguish adenoma from non-adenoma, or two similar lesion types. Or there are also some multi-class classification, and they are mainly conducted by machine learning methods, and notably radiomics techniques, which means that we consider the city images as a database of the pixels, and we will apply many machine learning techniques like random forest, SVM, etc., to achieve a goal of the classification. So in fact, we don't really know the mechanism in the middle, and we don't know how it comes from, how these conclusions comes from these pixels as the database. And of course, the second technique is a neural network. It's a classification network. And the second advancement in adrenal imaging is adrenal gland segmentation, which is normally done by unit, by 3D units, in fact, because it's normally conducted in 3D. But as in this kind of study, there are normally many their databases are normally very big, including many lesions, maybe 1,000 or even more. So here what we want to do is it's something different. We don't only want to do a simple classification, and also we don't and also we don't want to do only some 3D segmentation, because what we need to do is something similar to the doctor's diagnosis. So we want to have something understandable, so, and also we don't have a very large data set, so we need to do things differently. So for us, the major part of the characterization is lied on the washout calculation. So first of all, what is a washout? To understand that, we have the two GIF. The first, the whole image of the right image is a whole image of the human body. As we can see, in the red circle there is a lesion, and on the left side we have the center part of the lesion, and the washout calculation is based on a circle which the doctor will put inside into the lesion in the middle, and then normally they will only take one slice in the middle of the lesion as the representative slice for this lesion, and then the doctor will conduct the same processes in all these three different imaging phases, so that they will obtain three values for the washout calculation, and then they will achieve one washout values at the end. And in this way, every operations are manual, and also the choice of the slice and the choice of the position of the circle, etc., they are all kind of random. And also, most importantly, in these processes, we have only used the one single 2D images instead of the 3D volume. However, city images, they are on big volume. So maybe in these processes, we have missed out so much information. And the precision of the manual washout is not so great as well. It is only 0.6 for absolute washout and 0.8 for relative washout. So we are wondering if we could do something better, if we could do something in 3D. And here is the workflow of our general characterization. So we have all the images, and then we need to conduct the 2D lesion segmentations from one reference images, from one, and then we will segment all the lesion images to achieve the 3D segmentation of the whole lesion, and then based on this 3D segmentation, we will calculate our 3D washout. So how to do the 3D segmentation? So in fact, everything comes from a 2D segmentation algorithm, which means k-means clustering based region growing. In fact, it's the it's based on the famous region growing algorithm and incorporated with the k-means clustering method. As we can see here in the first row, we have the original images, and the second row, the k-means clustered images, where the lesion parts, they are better distinguished from their surroundings. And based on the k-means clustered images, we can have a much more accurate segmentation result. So so how can we realize the 3D segmentation from this 2D algorithm? In fact, we have introduced 2 loops for the 3D segmentation by introducing 2 adjustable automatically adjustable parameters. So from the segmentation result of one slice, we will have the seed of the region growing updated, and also the threshold of the region growing updated, so that we can search and produce the new the segmentation 2D segmentation in the upstream and downstream until we are running out until the lesion part that we segmented becomes too small. So which means we reach the end of the lesion. So then we can see that the segmentation in 3D is terminated. And how to do the 3D washout? We had developed 2 different methods. One is a method based on 3D approximation, and another one is the method respecting the original form of the lesion. And for both methods, we have chosen different ratio, different percentage of the center part, different ratio of the center part, because in order to study the influence of the ratio of the center that we took, if it has some influence on the final result of the washout. And here we can see. So here we can see some some example images to be able to help us to understand how our first method, the 3D approximation method. So as we can see, no matter the lesion, it is big or small, the normally somehow round or oval. This is why we have the idea that maybe we can regularize the lesion form by some sphere or ellipsoid. And this is a result for our approximation. So as we can see, the lesion, they are kind of regularized by our approximation, and so that the center part is more easily to find. And the second method is based on slice center. So what is slice center? So in fact, when we look into this series of images, it's difficult to say which one is the most representative one for this lesion. So this is why we have the idea that instead of randomly choose one slice in the middle as the representative slice, maybe we could include all of them, all the slices in the middle, which look similar to each other. And we can consider all of them as the representative slice. And so this is our slice center. This forms our slice center. As we can see in this example, no matter how much ratio of the center we have taken, it's always following the real form of the lesion. In the contrary of the first method, the one with approximation. And there are two ways for calculating washout from this slice center. Either we could calculate the washout as a whole, just as we have done for the sphere and the ellipsoid, that we will extract one mean CT values as the CT values of this series, so that we will arrive 3 different values for 3 different series and then 1 washout values at the end. Or we could treat the slice centers, each slice individually, so that from each slice we will extract 1 CT values, and then from each series we have a group of CT values. So we will obtain finally 3 groups of CT values from 3 different series, which gives us a big population of the washout values. And it proves that the individual method works very well. As we can see, no matter what ratio we have taken in the center, the individual method, they always give us very good results. We can achieve in general amount 20% higher than higher accuracy than the calculation of the expert. So to conclude this part, we have realized adrenal characterization, mainly conducted by washout, improved which is a manual random 2D processes, and now we could improve it to semi-automatic, systematic, and 3D. And with a final accuracy much more higher than the traditional manual method. So the 3D washout, we could see that it can better exploit the given CT images, maximize the related medical information. And also it largely improved the diagnosis performance. And in the future, it could serve as a diagnostic tool for the doctors in the clinic practice. Then let's come to the AI-based lesion characterization. So in fact, why we need to include the AI? This is because in our 2D lesion segmentation part, as we could say, for region growing, we have needs some parameters, and also for K-mean clustering, there is a K, the number of clusters. It's also a parameter that we need to predefine for each group of images. So this is why the first method is only a semi-automatic method. So now we want to pass it from semi-automatic to automatic, so that our observer will be even easier to use. And then based on this 3D relation automatically segmented, we could conduct the same washout calculation. So for when it comes to the AI in adrenal imaging, there are many two trends. The first one is, as we said, adrenalation classification in 2D. Second one is the adrenal gland segmentation in 3D. So for us, we could not directly use any of them, these methods, because we have limited database. We don't contain enough patients for directly applying any 3D unit models, and also we have 3 different image phase, and we have only conducted the manual segmentation on one phase data images, so we cannot directly use the 3D trained 3D unit models. Also, we want to do something more similar to the human understandable process. So we have decided to do a cascaded neural networks to convert 3D task to 2D task. So as we can see in so why we need to do in 2D? Because in 3D, the cases are not many. There are only 77 patients. But in 2D, we have many images. So this is why in 2D, we have much more resource for training the networks. So the entire, as we can see, we have the entire city volume, which is very large in comparison with the very small lesion. So this is why we want to have, first of all, a CNN to do the lesion detection task, so that we can largely reduce the volume where we will conduct the segmentation task. And then in the second phase, we want to have a unit, 2D unit, to do the lesion segmentation. And then from the 2D segmentation, we can reconstruct the 3D lesion, just as we have done in our semi-automatic method. And then based on the 3D lesion, could finally do the 3D washout calculation. So in this thesis, we will firstly focus on the first step, the CNN step for the lesion detection, due to the time limitation. The second part, the unit part, it will be completed in the future. So now let's look into the data preparation. So first of all, we need to clean the image, remove the unqualified images and the images, the non-access images, etc., and which give us still 82,000 non-lesion images and 6,000 lesion images. So it is very imbalanced. So we need to choose. So we have choose randomly some balanced subset for data augmentation, and then based on augmented balanced subset, we have divided the training and validation split. And here is the model of our simple CNN, SCNN. So we have got the inspiration from a recent work for the adrenal classification, And here we have do some modification. First of all, it's the filter number. The higher filter number is the SSN2, and also we have changed the activation functions from the TNRH to the RELU. So the one with only RELU is the SCN 11021 is finished by 1, and also the global pooling. We have changed the max pooling to the average pooling, and so the models finished with A means it is average pooling that we have applied, and we have used the binary cross entropy, the classic one, and we have applied the polynomial learning rate policy with 3 different initial learning rates. Here's the training accuracy for all these 8 models. As we can see, yes, as we can see, they have the models trained with initial learning rate at 0.001. It's much better than the smaller learning rate. And also we can see that the SNCN2 is better than SCN1, and the model with average pooling is better than the max pooling. And the best performance is achieved by this green line, this light green line. So it is a SN21A, which means increased filter numbers, RELU, and average pooling. And for the test, we have done 10 times test each time with 1,000 images randomly chosen from the whole dataset, the dataset not for training. And we can see that the best model is the SCN2A. If we look into their IUC, because and it means the increased filter numbers and TNRH and global average pooling. And if we look into the optimal threshold, we can see that the best, the most stable one is the SNCN11, which means smaller number filters and only RELU and global max pooling. So to conclude this part, with an IUC above 0.95, a sensitivity around 0.95, and a specificity around 0.86, the proposed SNCN1 could fulfill the goal of lesion detection or lesion delimitation by the 2D lesion classification. And the second unit segmentation part will be realized in the future. So if we look back to the first 2 methods, the manual one and the semi-automatic one, and finally the automatic one with thanks to the AI. So the lesion segmentation could be simplified. And then the Arduino lesion characterization on LDCT parts. In this part, we will use all our developed method to investigate the influence of the radiation dose on the image quality. So first of all, we need to have the LDCT dataset generated. So we need to we need to apply the simulation model, the trained unit model on our images, and apparently we cannot train all. We don't need all of them, especially the non-lesion images. So we have only applied the LDCT models on a part of non-lesion images, and then we need to remove the images with the defect, which means some in these images, some part of some regions, they are not well degraded, so they are missed out. So these kind of images should be rolled out in the further study. So in total, we have generated 279 series of LDCT images, among which 26 LDCT series, they have significant flaws, so they are rolled out. But in the end, we only have 48 lesions with eligible LDCT images for all the 3 series. In fact, because for each patient, we need all the 3 face images to calculate the washout. So this is why for some lesions, maybe we have 1 or 2 series with good quality, but not all the 3, and so that we can use that as well. This is the observation we have obtained in our 3D segmentation on LDCT, that first of all, the more contrasted original images tolerate greater degradation. And the more contrasted images, they means the portal images. So and also when the degradation levels, it's somehow it becomes higher. There will generate some loss of the details in the segmentation result, and as a consequence, their form might get distorted in the case of severe degradations. So here we have an example. On the left, it's a portal image of one patient, and on the right, a delayed image of one patient. As we can see, even with the degradation, for the portal images, the relation formed remains rather faithful. But however, when it comes to the delayed images, their form has been distorted a little bit. And the most important discovery is that the 3D washout remain reliable even on the low dose CT. So here we have an example on patient 26. As we can see, the 3 different colors means 3 different imaging phases, and the dotted line means the LDCT result, and the solid line is the normal CT result. As we can see, the decreased radiation dose has the same effect on all these 3 phases of images. This is why the final washout result, it is not influenced because it's a deviation. So the effect of the degradation caused by the dose, they have been compensated, or they have been eliminated by each other. So this is why the 3D washout remains reliable even on the low dose CT. And the last part is the performance of the SNCN on the low dose CT. First of all, they are normal dose CT trained SNCN tested on different low dose CT, different level of low dose CT. So we can see that as the degradation becomes severe, the model becomes dysfunctional, which is logic. And also we can see the SNCN2, it's also it is always more stable than SNCN1, which means the more filtered number 1, it's always more stable. And here, the second part is the performance of the SNCN directly trained on the low dose CT and their performance on different level of low dose CT. So the training, first part is the training performance. So as we can see, in fact, the training, with the degradation of the dose, they do not necessarily make the training accuracy lower. In fact, the different models, they converge even better with the introduction of the lambda, which means the degradation caused by the radiation dose. And also we can see there we can always achieve excellent training performance, no matter the model is trained on which level degradation. Here is the testing performance of SNCL on different levels. So as we can see, in the best performance one is achieved when lambda is 2, and the AUC is around 0.5 to 0.95, 85 to 95. So even the model, they seems always reach, they can always achieve very good in testing performance. But if we look into the optimal threshold, we can see that, in fact, the higher degradation level, they will reduce the model's reliability. So, for example, here, when the model is trained on 2.5 degradation and also tested on 2.5 degradation, which means here it has very, very good AUC. But when we look into the optimal threshold, we can see that, in fact, it has a very large range between the different times of the test. However, when it comes to the model tested, trained and tested on lambda equal to 1, we can see the range of the optimal threshold is much more stable. So, which means this model, in fact, is more stable. So to conclude this part, we found that the degradation introduced by the reduced radiation dose will lead less faithful segmentation result. But fortunately, the washout values, they remain constant as long as the 3D segmentation is always achievable. And also the SCN trained on low dose CT, they can still distinguish the lesion images, and the SNCN trained on low dose CT, they could no more work when the dose is reduced greatly. So to conclude my work, first of all, I proposed a unit model for the simulation of the low dose CT, and so it's a rather simple model, but it's proved to be useful. And the second contribution is, and the most important one, is that we extended the washout calculation from 2D to 3D, from manual to automate, with largely improved diagnostic accuracy. And the third one is that we have found out that the reduced radiation dose on 3D washout calculation, in fact, their influence is limited. They could influence the precision of the 3D segmentation, but they will not affect the 3D washout reliability. And also we have compared the classification performance of CNN on normal dose and lower dose CTs. So we say that the slightly decreased dose, in fact, they could even improve the lesion detection performance. And in the future, we still have many work to do. First of all, obviously, we need to complete our automatic model observer. We need to develop the unit model for the lesion segmentation. And And second, we need to conduct a second subjective test for the task-based data image quality assessment, as we mentioned from the beginning. For the task in this task-based image quality assessment, we always have a human observer in the contrast with our numerical observer. So here we have only the result of the numerical observer. So we need to do the subject test to obtain the subjective observer performance. Excuse me, the human observer performance, and notably on the lesion detection task and the washout calculation task on the LDCT, nodal CT. And also we will have a collaboration with Geneva University where we could do the segmentation and the statistic, radio mix, etc., everything beyond the washout study. Yes, and thank you. I think I have finished.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lumi.
Maybe.
Miriam?
Yeah,
Miriam,
Johannes, I will let you manage maybe the question.
Yeah, I was about to suggest it. Yes. First of all, thank you and congratulations for this many-year-long process and progress and your PhD. Opening up to the floor for questions, either online or in person. I see Patrick. Patrick, you have a microphone.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting work and needed work. Yes, I would like to actually report to the audience the importance of this work. There have been a study recently published in mid-April 2025 that if we don't change things in the usage of CT utilization, especially in US, this study was done in US. This CT scan may be the cause of 5% of new cancer per year. So, which is a bit a concern because you go to an hospital to get, let's say, a treatment, and these type of things make you actually sick. Okay, so that's really important. So I have tons of questions on this work, but let me focus on one because I think we are dealing with traditional figure of merit here, AUC, but I see that we have to do some kind of trade-off. Similarly to video quality for compression, we have the usual red distortion optimization process, while here we are dealing with dose quality trade-off.
Yes.
How do you see possible introduction of figure of merit that we are using for RDO in a traditional compression paradigm to study the dose quality trade-off? So could we have a kind of Bjørn metric or stuff like that applied to the dose quality trade-off?
Oh, I think it's a very good idea. In fact, because of the subject of this thesis is really focused on the task-based quality, so we have thought of the diagnostic performance. So this is why we have chosen a very simple metrics, figure of merit like the AUC, etc. But I think it's what you said is very important that we could get inspiration from the parallel study of video compression because they are in fact many similarities. Even it's in totally different domain, but in fact we could compare them together. So I think it's a very good direction for this study that we should introduce the already existing metrics for used in the video compression it could be used in our study. I think it's true.
If I may add on this topic, I'm not doctor, but I believe that the studies I have seen typically include what is called the cost-benefit analysis in terms of life expectancy. At some point, dosage is a proxy, as you just heard, for what is the downside. So what are you gaining versus what are you giving up? So I think this is very inherent to doctors. So when a doctor, at least good doctors, recommend a certain testing procedure, they say that again, the cost benefit is
like,
beneficial. They translate it. They know that 5% that you mentioned, or roughly 5%, and they say, hey, I believe that the risk if you don't do the process, visualization is higher, and therefore, for your case, it is beneficial, the trade-off. So I would say you can translate the trade-offs you presented, hopefully, into how much this low dosage gains so much in life expectancy versus the diagnostic value extending so much by, and therefore you make a benefit. Is what I would say.
Benefit risk is always
correct.
You're right to mention that, because this is a practice.
Exactly. This is what doctors have been doing for ages.
Yeah. Another question is, of course, to do this type of things, because it's massively deep net oriented, you need data. And we know when we share data in healthcare, it's a bit problematic because of privacy. So we know that if you are Siemens, GE, or this type of stakeholder, they have access to more data because they produce a machine. So how do you see this in your case? I guess it was anonymized data, but I want to stress here something that I already mentioned yesterday, the concept of avatarization of data. So you can use also some techniques, especially AI techniques, to generate data and image that are not necessarily coming from one patient, but that obey to similar statistic model. And so it's a plausible image that is not coming from nowhere. So what is your view on that? So first of all, what were the data? Did you face this problem for your PhD? And how do you see the next steps for this avatarization of data?
Yes, of course, we have the same problem that we don't have enough database, in fact. In fact, the data we have collected from University Hospital of Nantes, it contains the patients from 2005 and to 2022. And during all these years, they have changed to several different scanners and from different companies as well. So in fact, we have the CT images generated from GE, from Siemens, from Toshiba, from all the four biggest marks of the scanner. So in fact, we have this problem that these images, they comes with different standard, and they have a little bit different quality already. So this is why for our low-dose simulation model, we need to do a pre-processing step so that we will standardize or regularize all the different image conditions to the same condition. That is the last scanner, the images we used for the training of the low-dose simulation. Yes, and I think what you said is true, that we can, in fact, by doing many statistic studies on all these different sources of images, we can maybe be able to simulate some possible images. In fact, in my study, I tried to do that, but I didn't use it to generate some possible image. In fact, I used it in the data augmentation part, because in the data augmentation, I don't want to have some augmented images, but not possible.
Okay.
So
okay.
I used the range that I discovered in my statistics study of the real city images. So I limit the data augmentation so that the augmented images, they will still be realistic.
Okay, yeah, good. Thank you.
Any other question or comment? Online, I see Miriam.
Yes, I just want to put context, and maybe even Lumi is not aware about this. Patrick is the supervisors of Lou during the thesis. So she worked on task-based quality assessment, and we are trying to going on this if I can say the same subject, but really the problem of data is a big problem, and the data avatarization is very interesting approach, but in the literature there is, I think, only one structure that work on this, and it's in Nantes. But we try to discuss about this, and we want to make something with QAH, but it's not so easy. But thank you, Patrick, for all comments.
And thank you, Miriam, and the entire QAH group. As Patrick said, we as a community need to be very cognizant that it's a major contribution that we can bring. And with that, we close the QAH session. And the only thing that's left is to go through the, thank you again, Lumi, for the presentation. Let's go through the meeting minutes, just one page, the decisions we just took this morning. So there is transparency on what we are approving or modifying before approving. Wait a moment. Wait. You don't go to Zoom. Just keep the document open. Because you just go to the document. Where is the document? Yeah, just make it big. Okay. Thank you again for everyone who wrote it down. No decisions from 5th to 7th. Yesterday, the decision to have Marta Orduna from Nokia as a new vice chair with Pablo Perez stepping down. Today, we decided that the e-letter editors-in-chief, Naim and Sel, will prepare a concrete proposal specifically how to capture ISSN and DOI and listen to the suggestions from the group on making happen. Then on the topic of the future direction of VQEG, after the presentation, the highlights as they were requested of the last slide are quoted there. And it was decided that this would be explored further to present now a more concrete proposal that would list the pros and cons of the new versus the old. It was identified in the process that the VQEG rules and objectives section of the website need to be reviewed and modified if we believe so, to ensure that all our best practices are properly captured, because this will be provided to the potential attorney that will draft the bylaws. And then the other decision to the proposal will be drafted by Cosmin and Patrick for a hybrid meeting for the next, maybe you should say, next meeting, proposing the dates and place, including tentative costs. And the face-to-face part will be done in conjunction with either or PCS VCIP. About 30% of the participants indicated they would be joining the physical meeting if collocated. And the decision was decided to propose now a special session. Cosmin will email, is what we said, and Alex will email PCS if it's still open to submit. 2 tentative special session organizers were identified, Naim and Alex, and 5 tentative contributors from VQEG to the special session. And as an immediate real-time follow-up, Cosmin confirmed that both of these are open, so we are proceeding. Thank you. So only VCIP, sure, still waiting for the confirmation from Alex on PCS.
Should we Follow up with calling for a meeting tentatively in beginning of June for making these decisions.
Yeah, after we have all the information, concretize special session, yes, no, where. Next meeting, yes, no, where. A month from now. Online, of course, we call.
Hmm.
Do you agree? Can we say TBD, the exact date, Margaret?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. We
Should we write it or?
we could write that we will call for an
Yeah.
online.
An email will be sent.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe I should.
I copy pasted something different.
That was an old copy paste.
Okay. Decision to have video call.
Yeah.
To decide on special session.
Yeah, and the next.
And next meeting.
Yes.
Sometime in June.
Mm.
Email through the reflector will follow up.
Right. And time to be determined. Okay, great.
Or earlier. I'm not gonna say June. ASAP. As soon as the information comes in, right?
Yeah.
ASAP.
Okay, good.
Is this capturing remotely? Remotely, anybody? Okay, in person, nobody? All right, so with that, we finalize this and we are now closing today's and the entire week's face-to-face meeting. We as co-chairs and I as a host would like to thank you for joining one more time. Looking forward for the next opportunity and on the, maybe some words from Selfie.
Yeah, I would like to also extend our thanks to Meta for hosting the meeting. It has been an excellent experience. So give them a round of applause.